gonna lie, this is a tragically taketh from you. Taketh? You mean take? Bro, I'm not saying nothing. All I'm saying is that the brother died, and she has the money. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. Last one.
Welcome to the Kill Count, where we tally up the victims in all our favorite horror movies. I'm James A. Janice, and today we're looking at Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Nope, not the 1974 original. And no, not the remake from 2003. This one doesn't have "the" in the title. Slavery? It's just Texas Chainsaw Massacre, it's released on Netflix in 2022. This is the first new Chainsaw film since Leatherface in 2017, and the first since I covered the franchise on the Kill Count in 2019. Texas Chainsaw 22 is kind of a requel to the first film, making this the third or fourth Texas Chainsaw timeline, depending on if you think McConaughey was whooping it up in the OG reality. The 2017 Leatherface was originally supposed to have more sequels, but it took so long to release that Lionsgate lost the Texas Chainsaw rights. Legendary Pictures nabbed them up in 2018, and after some musical chairs between filmmakers, directing duties fell to Texas native David Blue Garcia. His panoramic wide shots and sun-baked cinematography make it feel like we're in Texas, even though they filmed in Bulgaria in 2020, complete with a COVID interruption. Nearly a year after production was finished, the film was released on Netflix to a fair amount of criticism. What were people's problems with it? Well, mostly the modernization. This is Texas Chainsaw social media style, with influencers and entrepreneurs as Leatherface's latest victims.
Try anything and you're canceled, bro.
That one line, featured in the trailer, was enough to sink this movie with a significant chunk of the audience. Franchise devotees also bemoan the lack of a family.
Oh my gosh,
Sawyers, Hewitts, whatever you want to call them. Instead, baby boy Leatherface flies solo in this film. Though he's still avenging a surrogate mother figure, Leatherface is usually portrayed as an unwilling monster, goaded into violence by the much more malicious family members around him. Their absence in this film turns him into a much more conventional lug with a power tool. There's also some stuff with the protagonist being a school shooting survivor, which is in questionable taste. And finally, this movie needlessly brings back Sally Hardesty in a way that blatantly emulates Halloween 2018. Listen, Sally was great, and her daring escape is featured in the extended Dead Meat intro, but she was never on the level of Laurie Strode, and bringing her back to be a gun-toting Leatherface-hunting sheriff is so ham-fisted, Danny DeVito should be soaking them knuckles in rum. All that being said, I didn't hate this movie. I think we said it best on the podcast.
I said it was stupid and I liked it.
It was stupid fun. This movie is very stupid, almost knowingly so. I still can't decide if it's part parody, especially considering the final shot. In fact, I find it dumb fun, much like I do Halloween Kills. The difference is Chainsaw 2022 takes itself way less.
Who's the best killer? Is it Leatherface, Jason, or Michael Myers?
Seriously. It's modern day camp and completely over the top. It's got chainsaw chucking, poop floods, and a guy screaming out this noise. Oh! I laughed my ass off several times, and in between was treated to some real good gore. Even better, the blood and guts were almost entirely practical, as decreed by producer Fede Alvarez, who had the same predilection when he directed the Evil Dead remake.
I think I always take sloppy, crazy, like kind of slightly campy special effects than any like polish, like super high-end VFX, right?
Chainsaw 22 is a far cry from Tobe Hooper's two masterpieces that began this franchise. But to be honest, most of the other installments aren't great, and at least this one's bad in a fun way. Still, if the beating Texas sun and poop floods leave you feeling dirty, we've got you covered with today's sponsor, Dr. Squatch. That's right, we've gotten a Squatch sponsor for Pinhead, Jason, and Mikey
Comments here, get your coffee.
So his movie needed gore and creative deaths. Let's see how creative this cat got with his corpses and get to the kills. The movie begins by bringing back John Larroquette for his third narrated intro of the series.
In the summer of 1973, a few miles outside of Austin, Texas.
Oh my gosh, it's Texas. Eli, be careful.
Were attacked in a grisly and gruesome fashion by an unidentified madman.
Oh hell yeah, they also bringing back that flashbulb sound effect. We love it! This news report mentions the victims from the original and tells us Sally Hardesty is still alive. After surviving the ordeal, she became a Texas Ranger, but was never able to track down Leatherface, the big boy still at large. Now it's nearly 50 years later, in the age of cell phones and self-driving cars. A group of youths are moving from Austin to the rural ghost town of Harlow. Population? Original movie's release year. It's easy to assume these uber millennials will be easy to hate, and they truthfully do suck at first. For instance, Melody here has obnoxious dialogue that I don't believe anyone would say aloud like this.
Look at this guy. Who has such a small dick they need to walk around in public with a fucking gun?
At least not loud enough for the guy to hear. But then we find out she hates guns because her younger sister Lila is a school shooting survivor, so her pugnacity makes sense. The movie doesn't paint the locals as cartoon characters either. Yes, Richter's response to Melody is a thinly veiled threat.
The only way to deal with an invasive species is to eradicate them. On site.
And he's also a coal-rolling asshole, which sucks. But he ends up having some more shades to him later on. The other locals, like the guy at Harbinger Petrol, who calls them gentrifuckers, seem less judgmental about the kids' youthful sensibilities and more concerned about their region's small-town integrity.
I hope this black guy doesn't die.
Some of us were born here, you know. Saw it in its prime. So please, be respectful for the town.
Melody promises they will, since their grandma grew up nearby. And I like that she and the sheriff come to an understanding here. It shows the locals aren't all bad guys, except maybe this deputy.
Oh my gosh, they should make a horror movie about cops.
Blatant eye fucking. Keep it in your sockets, pal. All I'm saying is, I think this movie balances these cultural forces a lot better than, say, the Wrong Turn reboot, where the rural folk claimed they were morally equal to the city youths, but also murdered people and kept sex slaves. God, that was fucked up. Texas Chainsaw may approach these themes and characters in shallow ways, but it's also more unique and interesting. The kids get to Harlow, eager to take over the abandoned town and spread their messages all over it.
Behold the joys of late-stage capitalism.
Maybe spread something else all over too, by the sounds of it. Oh! Dante is clearly excited, being the head of this expedition, which is never fully explained. I guess they're creating a utopia town?
We're idealistic individuals who want to build a better world.
That doesn't really provide any answers.
Yeah, that's a cult.
There's also that. Turns out Richter, the gun-toting, coal-rolling guy from the gas station, is their contractor, meaning he's working on the buildings that Dante and Melody are trying to sell. Dante also has a significant other who looks like Samara Weaving and whose name is Dante's partner. At least that's what the Netflix subtitles call her, Dante's partner, the entire time. She's called Ruth in the end credits, but I swear, I never once heard that name said. An old Confederate flag won't look good to Dante's investors who are arriving soon, so they head inside the building to take it down. It's an old orphanage, complete with a group picture from 1975. There's a faceless big boy in the back, but even more alarming is the cadaver-looking woman they find still living there. These buildings are supposed to be empty, all of them reclaimed by the bank months ago. The woman, Ginny, says there's been some confusion and claims she still owns the title to this place. Honestly, the building's title is like a whole fucking thing, but it's too dumb and specific for me to get into here. You can always go watch the movie to see more about the title plot. When the youths push their claim on the house, Ginny's last foster big boy appears at the top of the stairs. Oh, it's fucking Leatherface! The cops then arrive, and the situation gives Ginny a puke-spewing heart attack. So Leatherson lifts her up and puts her in the sheriff's van so they can take his mama to the hospital. With the bus of investors rounding the bend, Dante's partner offers to go with the police and let the others know what happens to Ginny. I'm sure she'll be just fine with all those cops and also Leatherface. In this movie, I guess Leatherface has been living out his days in an orphanage that he stumbled upon 2 years after the events of the first film. That new revelation, and the return of Sally Hardesty, is why this movie feels like a requel. It's worth noting, though, that story by credit and producer Fede Alvarez claims this doesn't explicitly erase the continuity of the previous sequels. He basically said it's pick and choose canon, so maybe Leatherface hung out at this orphanage in between shilling chili with his brothers in an amusement park from hell, living with Viggo Mortensen in the swampy region of Texas, and working for the Illuminati under Matthew McConaughey's watch.
You don't think the FBI has its place under 24-hour surveillance? You don't think there's transmitters in all these walls?
I'm interested in your ideas, Mr. McConaughey.
No,
please tell me more.
Now.
fascinating. Ginny's doing real bad in the back of the paddy wagon, and she shortly dies, finishing her transformation into a corpse. The death of one of Leatherface's loved ones is bad news for any non-Leatherfaces in the vehicle. The first one he takes his anger out on is the deputy sitting in the back with him. He breaks that guy's wrist, then uses the exposed broken bones to stab him in the neck. Oh my god! Blood and chaos ensue. The dying cop's gun goes off, shooting the driving sheriff through the neck. The car crashes into a tractor hard. Back at Dontopia, he's trying to sell his vision to one of the investors named Catherine. Melody is unable to help him with the pitch, feeling out of it after accidentally giving an old woman a heart attack. She barely manages to get through the lot auction.
Sold to Candace Brady of Brady's Brunch. Oh, I love brunch. That's great.
To create a pre-utopian Texas town in Eastern Europe, production designer Michael Perry headed the construction of 40 building facades, exterior and interior sets, and the entire gas station from scratch. Director David Blue Garcia says the only thing missing was barbed wire. The set decorators then imported American candy bars for the gas station and included a chair of bones in the orphanage as a nod to the Sawyer home decor from the original. In fact, Leatherface can be seen sitting in the bone chair in the foreground of a dark shot. Melody's sister Lila, played by 8th grade graduate Elsie Fisher, is the movie's main character, even though she's in the back seat for a lot of the first act. She doesn't have anything to do with the nebulous business they're running either. Lila reluctantly came here with her sister and is already whining about wanting to go back home. She leaves the others and strikes up a convo with Richter, then checks out the gun he's got lying around. I can't decide if the school shooting subplot is in bad taste or not. After all, at this point, it's sadly a thing plenty of people have gone through, so maybe it should be depicted in movies. But being used as a source of trauma for a character in a campy horror movie, yeah, maybe that approach isn't it. Especially when her school is called Stonebrook, a way too obvious reference to Stoneman Douglas. In any case, I do love the scene between these characters.
That must be tough. Living with that.
Everyone expects me to do something special with my life now, and I can only disappoint them.
Also, I guess I'll count these 7 students we see in her flashback. Ugh, it feels weird doing it though, man. I don't like it, not one bit. Melody gets a text from Dante's partner saying Ginny died, which messes her up so much she decides to call it quits and leave. As self-righteous as Melody appeared at first, she does show empathy and guilt about Ginny's death. She's not a bad person at all, and her shades are played perfectly by the talented Sarah Yarkin, last seen on the kill count in Happy Death Day to You. Miles away, a 60-something-year-old chainsaw murderer is sawing his adoptive mom's face off. That's some crazy shit. It works as a callback to an earlier line Ginny said,
"Wish I'd known you were coming. I'd put my face on."
And it turns Chelsea's baby boy back into the Leatherface we know and love. She, who may be Ruth, tries to radio for help, but turns out the sheriff sitting next to her isn't quite dead yet. The lack of kill grab. Leatherface pops in to fix that oversight and kills the sheriff with 2 simple bashes to the skull. Nell Hudson does some excellent scared acting here, and you really root for this woman whose name you're not quite sure of. But eventually, Leatherface busts in and busts her gut, tearing open her midsection with a broken shard of glass. Hush now, child. You'll get a name in heaven. After checking the sunflower soil quality, all good here, Leatherface heads back towards the town. Why did they use that sound effect on a grill cover opening? I love it. Dumb plot stuff keeps the kids in town, like Richter taking their keys and them trying to find that title. Other plot stuff calls Sally Hardesty back into the fray. Sorry, Sally, no more dressing pig carcasses or playing bass and keyboard in Rush. In honor of your friends whose names no one remembers, it's Leatherface hunting time once again. Sally's been recast in this movie since the original actress, Marilyn Burns, died in 2014. She's now played by Alwyn Fuele, last seen on the kill count doing cult stuff and
What's with old ladies killing the main villain of the movies? Like, you got that with Jason, you got that with Michael Myers, and I think you got that with Jason, right?
Best things I can say about this subplot is that it gives us some decent shots in the sunflower field later, and shows off old Ginny in all her faceless glory. That's about it. The entrepreneurs wind up in the orphanage, where Melody does in fact find the place's property title. Supposedly, that means Ginny shouldn't have been kicked out of there. But couldn't she have just kept that thing in a drawer, even if she did lose the building to the bank? They're still poking around when Leatherface gets back home, and he attacks Dante in a fun homage to Kirk's death in the original.
Don't kill
I
the
love
black
the use
guy.
of a swinging door in place of a sliding one. Dante bleeds out on the floor and Melody catches a glimpse of it, so she hides in the closet and watches as Leather gets sentimental with his adoptive mother's dress. He did always have a penchant for makeup. He also doesn't like it when people invade his home, so right now he's pissed at the entrepreneurs. And this mirror! A sudden storm sends all the investors scurrying onto the bus, as inside the orphanage, Leatherface hacks his way through the bedroom wall. The camera whipping with his swings is an obvious homage to The Shining, and at this point, I don't think we need to reference that scene anymore. It's been homaged enough, everybody. The reference stirs Dante awake, who gets up and stumbles down the street towards the bus. Richter finds him with half a Joker thing going on.
Oh my
and though he made
God.
it this far, Dante then bleeds out to death on the sidewalk. Oh, come on, Richter. This is not the time for arm wrestling. Richter tells Catherine to call the cops while he heads towards the orphanage, gun in hand. Inside, Leatherface retrieves his unleaded Excalibur from the wall. The pull start, two-stroke, screaming yellow people mulcher, hidden away these decades past. Director Garcia says the chainsaw was one from the original film, although I can't tell if he means the exact same unit or just the same Poland brand.
I was told that this was one of the original chainsaws used in the first film.
Oh,
yes. So, and based on how the fact that it took about 20 to 30 minutes to start and didn't stay on, I would say that's correct.
Turns out you can teach an old saw new tricks, because in an unusual move for Leatherface, he hides as Richter comes upstairs. Melody tries to help out with a mirror, but Leatherface still gets the jump on the mechanic. The fight is fucking graphic. Legs should not bend that way! And eventually, Leatherface impales. Melody tries to help out with a mirror, but Leatherface still gets the jump on the mechanic. The fight is fucking graphic. Legs should not bend that way! And eventually, Leatherface impales Richter's neck on a glass shard. The guy heroically gets his keys out for Melody right before Leatherface puts the nail in the coffin by hammering his head repeatedly. For this outing, Leatherface is played by the 6'4" Mark Burnham. His more elderly Leatherface still has energy and bloodlust, but has to take more breaks and breathers due to his age. The skin mask he wears was created by makeup artist Todd Tucker of Illusion Industries. It was designed and applied by key artist Martin Astles, who opted to make Leatherface look more sad than outright scary. The silicone face was attached to Burnham with Velcro tabs that made it easy to remove between takes. More than 20 masks were made for Burnham and various stunt performers, each of them hand-punched with eyebrows and eyelashes. I couldn't get one of these new masks in time for this kill count, so I'm just using the original back there. Sorry. Melody tries to discreetly leave the orphanage, but it doesn't go exactly as planned. Whoa, holy shit, dude. Leatherface, you throwing shit now? He gets the chainsaw revving again, and they have a fun chase scene where he does an upside down Jaws through the floorboards trying to get her. This is when he cuts through a pipe and covers her in poop. Her sister Lila, having seen Dante's body on the street earlier, arrives in the nick of time to rescue Melody. Together,
what's his weakness? What's his weakness? What's his weakness? I think I can get his weakness.
Get her. This is when he cuts through a pipe and covers her in poop. Her sister Lila, having seen Dante's body on the street earlier, arrives in the nick of time to rescue Melody. Together, they flee through what looks remarkably like a studio backlot, returning to the bus with the keys to their hopeful escape. They're on their way out when Leatherface pumps the brakes for them, maybe by taking out a tire. When the driver gets out to see what's up, he's quickly killed off screen, with his head being tossed onto the bus for proof. Yeah, y'all fucked now, Catherine. Leatherface boards the bus, and everyone takes out their phones for defense.
Try anything and you cancel, bro.
That infamous line is said by producer Shintaro Shimosawa, whose livestream viewers seem to think that all of this is fake, much like the audience of Joe Keery's work in The Disturbing Spree. Speaking of disturbing, Leatherface grabs up his chainsaw and massacres the 21 young entrepreneurs on the bus. That figure was counted by editor Josh, who also used wide shots during the auction to double check his work. It's a gruesome scene, using more than 200 gallons of fake blood and giving us a variety of kills, including this twofer. Given this movie's tone, you might expect this slaughter scene to be fun, but it's not. It's actually horrific, especially since it reminds Lila of her school shooting experience. I'm saving one kill here for its own separate counting, Catherine's. She tries to climb out the window, but Leatherface literally cuts her in half. We're talking viscera sliding out and everything. It's seriously nasty and deserves to be highlighted. Melody and Lila are able to escape through the bus bathroom ceiling window, leaving them the only ones alive in this rainy Texas town. That is, until Slick Sally slides her way into the story. But don't get too excited, gals. Sally's basically a parody of legacy horror characters.
50 years I've been waiting for this night, just to see him again.
Wonder if she has any preferred time for evil to die. Instead of helping them, Sally leaves the sisters locked up as bait or some shit, then saunters into the orphanage with her shotgun. She follows the footprints and chainsaw to find Leatherface sitting on a couch. "Oh, I'm sorry. Did you need something, lady?" Sally gives a dramatic speech and recites the
Just shoot
names
him
of
in
her
the
friends
head.
and annoying brother, but Leatherface betrays no recognition of them or her.
You don't remember me.
Nope, he doesn't think about you at all. Neither of these characters make a move to kill each other, and instead, Leather grabs his chainsaw and walks right past Sally like he's on his way to work. Dumb. Leatherface goes to attack the sisters, which is when Sally springs back into action. She's shooting and screaming and carrying on as though someone had just paused her for the
Should've done
past
it
30
20
seconds
seconds ago.
I'm the one who got away, and I'm here to make sure you don't. Motherfucker.
God, this Sally shit
Texas
is bad.
Chainsaw Massacre.
Leatherface runs at her and sticks his chainsaw through her body
Oh my
and lifts her up like he was
God.
trying out for the next Mortal Kombat game.
Fatality. Leatherface wins.
He chucks his chainsaw at the fleeing sisters, sending Sally's car crashing into Richter's garage. With Melody momentarily trapped in the wreckage, Leatherface chases Lila back out into the street. He's almost got her when a somehow still alive Sally shoots him from her little trash pile. That's some good trash shooting, Sally. She tells Lila to stop running away from her trauma. Otherwise, Leatherface will haunt her for the rest of her life. Then Sally finally dies, her last act being to give her loaded gun to a school shooting survivor. To avoid growing up traumatized,
That's the one
like
with
that
Matthew
trash pile
McConaughey?
corpse,
No.
Lila hunts down her tormentor
Should I watch
with a
that one
gun,
too?
taking control of a thing that helped ruin her life. She enters a movie theater that quickly becomes a theme park haunted maze, then stumbles upon a chainsaw idling on the ground. What is this, a trap? Akbar be damned, it is a trap!
Damn!
Trap doesn't seem very Leatherface, but it's also not very movie theater to have a pool in the floor of the lobby, so fuck it. Lila emerges from the water, and Leatherface follows like he were Swamp Boy Jason. In his continued fascination with Chuck and shit, he hurls his chainsaw at her again. Melody shows up to try to help her sister, then quickly loses ground to Leatherface's attacks. Lila pops in with a shotgun to show Big Boy what's what, and Melody
him
delivers
in
the
the
ultimate
head.
blow by chainsaw uppercutting Leatherface backwards into the theater pond. This finishing move was an unplanned homage to Stretch doing the same to Chop Top in Texas Chainsaw 2. The sisters watch as the bleeding, sputtering killer sinks below the surface. Well, that should definitely be that. No need to worry about anything else, ladies. You did it! The sun rises on Harlow and the girls hop into their electric car, ready for the long ride home. They set it on autopilot and pop open the sunroof
No cops?
to let in that Texas sunshine. Oh shit, it's fucking Leatherface! He drags Melody out and straight up decapitates her in the street while her sister Lila screams and watches. It is a batshit final kill, made hilarious by Lila being stuck in a self-driving car. A high-tech parody of Sally's escape. The movie ends with a Leatherface spin, another more straightforward homage to the original. And a post-credits scene shows him returning to the family farmhouse from the first film. How many gentrifiers became gentridiers? Let's find out. Excuse me. We counted 38 victims in Texas
That
Chainsaw
was
Massacre. With a
fucking
16-15-7 split, we wound up with mostly even guys and gals, with a big wedge of unknown flashback victims. This body count blows the rest of the franchise out of the water. The first 5 movies were pretty chill with kills, and though Leatherface had 21, this was nearly double that.
I deadass thought they was safe as fuck.
I really like these franchise stats. With a breezy runtime of 74 minutes, that left us with a kill on average more frequent than every 2 minutes. I'll give the Golden Chainsaw for coolest kill to the Bus Massacre, including Catherine. Out of all the Texas Chainsaw Massacres, this massacre was the most massacre of them all. Dull Machete for lamest kill will go to Sally Hardesty, not because of how it happened, but because it happened. All that did was verify that the Sally subplot was garbage. And that's it. Texas Chainsaw Massacre came out in 2022.
It came out this year? I didn't even watch it. Nobody told me that this movie came out, bro. I still would have watched it, but you know, I didn't know it released this year. The fuck? That shit's fucking insane.